So we got an interesting clip here. Evan Tainment, who's one of our staff at TFcon, he's responsible for posting and archiving all the cool footage and information and stuff that goes on during TFcon. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel and his Twitter, Evan Tainment on Twitter. He posts a lot of really cool clips and stuff because he's the one who just records everything. And actually, if you want, he actually has DVDs that he sells of every year of TFCon, which has usually interviews, footage, all kinds of crazy stuff. And so one of the things that he posted recently was a clip from the TFCon that just passed in 2017 of our Toronto show in the Canadian version, which was his panel, excuse me, not his panel, Aaron Archer's panel,
Yep.
where he was talking about all kinds of different stuff and his career in the industry. But one thing that he brought up, which was really cool, and it was one of the clips that Evan uploaded, was talking about his entry into the Unicron trilogy and Armada. And one thing that was really cool, and I'll link to Evan's Twitter account, and you could check out all the clips, because I think the Twitter would be the best to link, because he posts clips both on TFCon's YouTube account and on his own YouTube account. So you'll get it all on his Twitter. But the cool thing is Evan posted a really cool segment of Aaron Archer's panel where Aaron talked about how when Brian Goldner, and people who don't know who Brian Goldner is, he's like the current CEO of Hasbro, when he came in, and his game plan after Car Robots and Robots in Disguise was, let's do a strong return to form of vehicles, where Car Robots kind of was a mix of the both, even though it was a return to vehicles. It still had, other stuff too, had beasts and everything like that. Let's do a return to form with vehicles, and let's do a collectible aspect. And I'm pretty sure that was Brian who was looking at what was going on Hasbro's other side of things, which was Pokemon.
Right.
Hasbro, who's in charge of Pokemon's, at the time, was 100% in charge of Pokemon's localization over here from a toy standpoint. And so they were pretty much like, let's make a collectible aspect, and pretty much Aaron Archer going, okay, we're gonna bring in these micro masters, which we'll call Minicons, and we'll do a power up gimmick, and then he would go on to say how he really liked, he prefers the art style of, let's say, Armada from the animation as opposed to the art style of Cybertron or Galaxy Force, because he likes.
Go on. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, like, he likes how stuff is more stylized when it's done in that kind of form. And I mean, that's a bit of,
I think he was referring to specifically the transformations, though.
yeah. Well, I think it's like, because that's why, like, a lot of people, when I know that when he said that, a lot of people in the crowd kind of like chuckled, or they were like, wow, like they were surprised he said that, because I know that of the three, a lot of people prefer Galaxy Force and Cybertron the most. Especially but I think in his case, is like, what he was saying was, he doesn't like how he's someone who engineered the toys. He knows them inside and out.
Yeah.
And then he watches the show. And to Galaxy Force's credit and Cybertron's credit, what you got in the toy was how it looked on the show. It was a one-for-one in a lot of ways, which some people think is a great thing, because what you get is what you get. You enjoy the product like you enjoy it on the screen. Where he preferred more the interpretation, as he called it, of Armada, also known as Micron, Legend of Micron, Micron Detsetsu, because it was more of an interpretation of the toy itself, where it was more stylized. And I guess I could see an appeal of that, because that's what Fliro Deary's job was with Generation 1, which was, you look at the toys and then you want to make it more stylized for the animation, so it looked very differently. And it's kind of like how we look at Masterpiece and how we expect the toys to look because of what we expected from the TV screen. So it's a chicken without the egg thing, because I know that, like, if you look at, say, Hot Shot in Armada, like his animation model, but then you look at the actual toy, a lot of his kibble is missing in the animation model. A lot of it's cleaned up. It's more, again, like that Fliro Deary streamline, where it's like, you could look at G1 Jazz in the animation.
Yeah.
Where's his doors?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where the doors are missing. Like, there's certain things that were cleaned up.
To play a little bit of devil's advocate and, like, kind of root Mr. Archer's point, the way I think I kind of see him, how he looks at it, it's like, I watch the show to kind of escape, and if I want to see the models done in CGI, then I'll just open up AutoCAD.
Well,
and just kind of scan them that way. And then,
I could only imagine, especially when these were being designed, I would say like let's go 2004 2005. I would imagine when they were first working on these on computers. Yeah, of course. Like they're messing with these on computers, whether it be a form of shape waves for back then.
Yeah.
And then turn around and you watch the show, which at the time the CG was the best that Japan could do back then, which probably wasn't too different than the CG of the shape waves that they were working on back then. It was probably looking at the same thing.
And then and then also another thing like I would kind of bring up is that if you don't have that Furo Diri style, then you don't really have a toy that can aspire to that once the technology gets that much better.
Well, that's true too. That's the one thing also is that, I mean, with a few rare exceptions, most Galaxy Force Cybertron toys are dead on to how they look on the show. Like the only exceptions I could even think of a little bit is Nitro Convoy / Override could be a little slimmer, but that was more so because that toy had a gimmick, like an auto transform gimmick.
Yeah.
So that kind of, by storing that held it back. Geez, really outside of that, maybe some of the really smaller figures, because of, again, the limitations of articulation and parts, like, say, the Scout class-based ones, or regular scale, as they were called at the time. But in general, yeah, most of them were dead on, so there wasn't, I think that's the primary reason why we don't see a lot of third-party Cybertron stuff. I mean, we got Meteor, which was the Starscream one.
Right.
But that's only more so because here in America, we didn't get the proper Voyager scale Starscream. We only got the huge, like, Supreme class one, which, again, limited in articulation, not much that could be done there. So I guess they wanted to give someone that better Starscream. The third-party market wanted to do that, where, I mean, I look at the Galaxy Convoy, and it's like, how do you reinvent something that was literally at one point one of the greatest Optimus Prime toys ever made? How do you go back and third party that? Same thing, even the Megatron. Some people, they love it or hate it, but that's a pretty articulated and great toy. How do you go back and reinvent the wheel on that? And some of these Galaxy Force toys to this day are still getting reissued and put into packaging. The Starscream was used for a Year of the Horse stuff. The Cybertron Primus was used just recently for the Last Night movie.
That's true.
The engineering on them is so good. It's like, how do
you resell that toy? How do you convince somebody to buy a new version of it if you mastered the wheel?
Yeah, of course, totally. Well, I think that's the beauty with, let's say, the Masterpiece line when it comes to anything that it's doing from a Beast Wars or G1 standpoint, is that it's really tackling characters that needed it. With the exception of Primal, I think Primal was good the first time around, obviously with a few tweaks here and there. Yeah. But I mean, and I'm not going to say that the Masterpiece Optimus Primal isn't the best thing ever, because it really is. I
also feel that it's a really good exercise for your engineers just to like show off. Your toy engineers is like, all right, guys.
I could totally understand why he's saying what he's saying, coming from his.
Yeah, you got to look at it from his perspective.
His point of view. It's like he's staring at a screen. Yeah. He's engineering Vector Prime. He's doing that arm ligament for that he spent like 3 hours on, for all you know. And then he turns on the screen. Here's Galaxy Force / Cybertron. There's the transformation sequence of Vector Prime, and he's literally looking at the same CG models that he was working on for 3 hours, as opposed to like super stylized anime with speed lines and stuff, which he would have probably been more used to. Maybe not so much so with Energon. Energon was cell shaded and had a weird kind of floatiness to it. But when he mentioned Armada and Micron specifically. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna link Evan's Twitter account. He posts all kinds of clips all the time, and be sure to check out his Twitter. And if you're interested in DVDs of TFcon, send him a message, because he has tons of great footage.
Evantainment.